If you'd like to exchange your Magic Online cards for event tickets while logged in on Magic Online, you can do so by trading MTGO Academy's official bot, Academy Buy Bot. You can find it in the Magic Online trading area or add it to your buddy list.
Ready for the finals, winning the die roll. Let's see if we can draw some lands here. Well, this hand needs a bit to develop, especially in the finals. I'm expecting to play against a powerful deck, but yeah, I mean, starting off with islands and one of my win conditions in hand already is not going to be the worst. Of course, I have to hope to draw into gushes and deep analysis with this hand. I'm never going to say a bad thing about Ophidian anymore. This single-handedly won me the last game. Goblins. It's goblins or cycling. Goblin Patrol, I would guess. No, Scar Prospector. Card I usually don't run in my goblin decks because I want to be more late game oriented, and the Scar Prospector is just not very exciting. This is a card I like. The Drill Sergeant is just really good. I'm afraid that Ophidian is going to get Chain Lightning here. It's still the best defensive option I have. Currently I don't have anything to return with the Scrivener, but it's too early to cast a Brain Freeze. Let's see. Oh, looks like the Ophidian held back the offense for only one turn, but at least one turn. Lonely Sandbar, I don't need that, so I can cycle the Sandbar and then most likely I'll play the Sorcerer. This bargain against goblins, I don't know. Doesn't seem amazing. Also Living Death, pretty much worthless against the deck with Skurk Prospector. Good to know that my first pick is pretty much unplayable. A Matron. So is my opponent waiting with the attack? Because if this attacks, I'm double blocking the general and I get back, get an attack in with the Ophidian. This is really aggressive. I'm not sure if that's really in my opponent's best interest. Goblin General is really scary. And this allows me to get rid of it. And I think I have to get the extra card. An extra card here is basically like a Time Walk. Because all I'm doing when I take turns is draw cards. I can drop Scrivener here, making the War Chief a lot less scary. It's kind of sad not to return anything, but I can't have no blockers. Alright, I'm blocking. I don't mind this, taking things slow. My opponent hasn't generated any value, any significant value yet. I could actually bargain here if I draw into a black source with the Gush. And if not, I'm still just dropping Mana Prism plus Brain Freeze. This is so much fun. I haven't had that much fun in a while. I might be taking too much damage here next turn. But we'll see. I mean, if my opponent just has the nuts goblin draw here with maybe another goblin general, then I'm not beating that. Otherwise, I'm going to prevent the most damage possible, and then I'll draw down to one life. Oh my god. Is that lethal? I think it is. This gets +2/+2 and trample whenever my opponent sacrifices a goblin. So this is basically threatening to be +8/+8, 11/11 by itself. Which means it's not quite lethal. So Ophidian prevents the most damage if it blocks the Clickslither. Then I'm taking 4, 5, 6. Clickslither doesn't deal damage, and if my opponent sacrifices Prospector and Matron, then this is a 7/7. I take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, but if I don't block the Clickslither, I'm taking a lot more damage, so that's not really an option. Wow, that was a really good card. And my opponent correctly bringing me down to the lowest life total possible. I'm not going to draw a card because of the bargain in play. So yeah, that wasn't the most successful bargain. I have a brain freeze, so one thing I can do is just to look at my opponent's cards, but I don't really care. I don't necessarily want to let him see the brain freeze if it's not absolutely necessary. I guess I will cycle the Keen Haven. It's not like it makes much of a difference. Alright. The Goblin deck. Paralyze. Clickslither is absolutely insane. I can understand why my opponent plays Skirk Prospector in his deck. I could actually just keep Living Death in my deck, simply because it gives me an out, basically. I'm really desperate here. I think I also should take out Control Magic. It's going to be too slow, and my opponent has too many sacrifice effects. Like I said, it's very likely that Living Death is going to be awful and a dead card, but at least it has a huge potential to just swing the game around. If I can maybe block and kill a Skirk Prospector, then I might just wrath my opponent, which, for example, Control Magic will never be able to do. I'm also looking at just other blockers, but Skywing Haven is really bad, and the others are more expensive, so that Keen Haven is going to be better. Alright, happy about the 17th land, so let's see. Okay, not mulliganing this. Looks like a nice vintage hand. Not quite, but... So I know that there is a Clickslither waiting in my opponent's deck. I might have to counterspell only the most pressing threats. No 2-drop after mulligan, that's really great for me. Mana Prism? Or just the Krivikan Sorcerer into the 2 mana my opponent has, so potentially just eating a burn spell here. Yeah, the Mana Prism isn't important, the Sorcerer is, so hoping that there's no Spark Spray coming. And if there's a Goblin General next turn, I can beat it. If there is a Goblin War Chief, it's kind of the best case scenario for my opponent. But I need to do stuff, so... Keen Haven is getting cycled. It would be nice to buy some time, but I need to find my win conditions anyway, so... Which I'm kind of doing here, so that's good. Another counter spell. So do I gush here? I don't think I gush. I think I hold back the gush. Skirk Prospector resolves. my opponent is flooding out, so I'm going to take advantage of that by just playing things really slowly. Oh, I guess. So I can Brain Freeze for 9 here, which is probably good, given that I don't have a ton of mana. Now if I Brain Freeze for 6, I've pretty much won the game. Not the greatest cards I've ever seen. So that was a pretty big fail. I have a Gush and a Frantic Surge on the stack. I can play a Mana Prism and the Brain Freeze because it's not getting much better, I suppose. And then I'm still drawing life towards my will and related cards, basically. I wasn't expecting to find only lands with so much card draw. Oh, also a Genso, I think I saw there. Sulfuric Vortex, Grenzo. Yeah, the rares in this deck are insane. Is the Click Slither gone? No. Speaking of which, I should really draw a Yavkman's Will now. Oh boy. Repel, that's a nice one. Not the best when it comes to decking my opponent, but pretty sure that it's worth it. Goblin Goon as well. Okay. So my opponent cast a spell here, and I'm thinking that it might actually be better not to repel this turn, but to cycle Kenai even. Because Repel is going to save 6 damage, and this turn it's only going to prevent 4. Only prevent 3. And the Click Slither comes back with haste, which the Goblin Goon can't. My opponent can sacrifice the Goon to the Click Slither. That's the disadvantage, but I think that's actually fine. I probably should have thought about that before making this play, but the counterspell was gone, so I think there was not much that I was risking. Ophidian. Huh. So Ophidian, clearly not a great card. Do I repel the Goon? And do I do it now or during my opponent, after my opponent has drawn his card? After my opponent has drawn his card, the Click Slither turns into a 5/5 from the Goon and I take 6. So I'm dead the turn after. If I repel the Goon now, my opponent just hits me for 4, but plays the Goon, so I'm also dead the turn after. It really doesn't make much of a difference. I guess denying my opponent the draw step is the best course of action, and holding back Ophidian so that I can still just naturally draw into Brain Freeze. Oh wait, I don't have Brain Freeze, but so, well then I guess it doesn't matter if I have the if I have the Ophidian in play. Or in my hand. I didn't have the mana anyway, so I thought it would be an advantage, but it isn't really. Karvik's Torch, a second one? My god. So I think I actually did the right thing by preventing the most damage possible with that repel. But I was actually one draw short of winning. With the Scrivener here. I denied my opponent the draw step, but he was already holding the Karvik's Torch. So, yeah, this was as close as it gets. I wasn't expecting more burn after one torch already. Double Torch, Vortex, whole bunch of goblins and the crazy good click slither. Yeah, I almost got there with a draft that started off as a train wreck, and I'm not sure how good the deck really was, but it was definitely a blast to play. These black spirals were worth it. The Living Death not so much, but the two unspeakable cards here, just absolutely phenomenal. This was great. This is why I love Vintage Masters so much. You can basically do whatever you want. Don't underestimate Storm. We've also seen other good strategies here. Goblins always threatening. The Slide Rift deck didn't really draw the right cards, or maybe the deck composition was a bit too greedy, but also very scary. And yeah, the first match was against Blue-Green Madness with so much counter magic. I was kind of surprised to see so many spells and very little creatures. All right, got burned out in the end. One draw away from a lethal Scrivener, but that's how it goes. I'm Simon Gotzen, recording Simon Says for mtgoacademy.com. Let me know in the comments how you like Vintage Masters, and see you next time. Bye bye.